My parents took $2,500 from me every month for years, then quietly excluded me from a family vacation I helped fund, forcing me to finally see my real role in their lives and make a decision that changed everything forever. I'm 34, male, and until last month, I was sending my parents $2,500 every single month, not because I had to, but because I thought I was being a good son. Turns out good sons don't get invited to family vacations. Let me explain. Growing up, I was always the odd one out in my family. My younger sister, Emma, 31, was the golden child who could do no wrong. She was popular, got decent grades without trying, and had that effortless charm that made everyone love her. I was the quiet, studious one who worked twice as hard for half the recognition. The favoritism wasn't subtle. When Emma turned 16, my parents threw her this massive Sweet 16 party. They rented out the community center, hired a DJ, and invited her entire class. I remember helping carry decorations and set up tables, watching my parents fuss over every detail to make sure Emma's night was perfect. When my 16th birthday rolled around 6 months later, we went to Applebee's, just the four of us. Mom took a single photo with her flip phone and that was it. Emma got a brand new Honda Civic for her 16th birthday. Bright red, exactly what she wanted. I got a used bicycle from a garage sale, a girl's bike, because Dad said it was practical and the price was right. When I pointed out it was clearly designed for girls, Mom said I was being ungrateful and that transportation was transportation. In high school, while Emma was out partying, I was working part-time at a grocery store and maintaining a 4.2 gigapascals. My manager, Mrs. Rodriguez, used to comment on how responsible I was for a teenager. She'd give me extra shifts when other kids called out, knowing I'd show up and work hard. I was saving every penny for college, dreaming of getting out and making something of myself. Emma's grades were mediocre at best, but somehow she was always getting praised. Emma's doing her best, Mom would say when report cards came out. Not everyone is naturally academic like you. But when I brought home straight A's, it was just expected. No celebration, no acknowledgement, just good job in passing. The worst part was watching how differently we were disciplined. I remember this one time when I was 17. I came home 20 minutes late from my job at the grocery store because my manager asked me to stay and help with inventory. My parents grounded me for a week for being irresponsible and not calling. That same month, Emma crashed her car into a mailbox while texting and driving. Instead of being punished, my parents spent the weekend helping her pick out a replacement car and talking about how accidents happen. When college applications came around, my parents were so focused on helping Emma get into a good school that they barely noticed when I got accepted to MIT on a full academic scholarship. The night I got my acceptance letter, I remember running downstairs to tell them, practically vibrating with excitement. Dad was helping Emma with her college essay, and Mom was making her favorite cookies. "That's nice, honey," Mom said without looking up from the oven. "Emma, make sure you mention your volunteer work in paragraph 3. Mom, did you hear me? I got into MIT with a full scholarship." Dad looked up from Emma's laptop. "That's great, son. Very practical choice." Then he immediately turned back to Emma. "Now, about this paragraph on leadership." I stood there for another minute, hoping one of them would ask me about the program or congratulate me properly. Instead, I heard Emma sigh dramatically. "This essay is so hard. I don't know why colleges want to know so much about us." "Because they want to see who you really are, sweetheart," Mom cooed. "You're such a special person. Any college would be lucky to have you." That pretty much summed up my entire childhood. Emma's struggles were met with support and encouragement. My achievements were met with indifference. I threw myself into my studies at MIT, majoring in computer engineering. While my classmates were partying, I was either studying or working internships. I spent my summers at tech companies, learning everything I could about software development, systems architecture, and project management. My sophomore year, I got an internship at a startup that ended up being acquired by Google. The experience taught me more about the tech industry than any classroom ever could. My professors noticed my dedication. Dr. Martinez, who taught my advanced algorithms course, pulled me aside junior year and told me I had real potential to do groundbreaking work in the field. He recommended me for a research position that led to my name being included on 2 published papers before I even graduated. I was building something real, something that mattered. Meanwhile, Emma was struggling through her freshman year at a state school about 2 hours away. She'd call home crying about her classes, her roommate, her professors. Every weekend, Mom would drive up to visit her with care packages and home-cooked meals. When Emma called saying she wanted to drop out after her second year, Mom's response was immediate. "Of course, sweetie, college isn't for everyone. You can always try again later when you're ready. I graduated summa cum laude with a 3.97 gigapascals and landed a job at a major tech company right out of college. The starting salary was $89,000, more money than I'd ever imagined having. Emma, meanwhile, moved back home and got a part-time job at a boutique in the mall. She worked maybe 25 hours a week, spent most of her paycheck on clothes and nights out, and treated our parents' house like a hotel. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was living in a tiny studio apartment in Cambridge, eating ramen and rice to save money while paying off my minimal student loans. Emma was living in her childhood bedroom rent-free with mom doing her laundry and dad paying her car insurance. By 25, I was making six figures and had been promoted to senior developer. I'd moved to a decent one-bedroom apartment and started building my savings. I was dating occasionally, but work consumed most of my time. The tech industry moves fast, and I was determined to keep up. I attended conferences, took online courses, and worked on side projects that ended up becoming major features at my company. By 30, I was pulling in close to $300,000 annually as a senior software architect, leading a team of 12 developers on major client projects. I'd gotten headhunted twice, but stayed with my company because I believed in the work we were doing. I had a healthy investment portfolio, a nice apartment in Boston, and was finally feeling financially secure. Emma was still living at home, working part-time at the same boutique, and dating a string of guys who never seemed to stick around. She'd had at least 6 serious relationships that I knew of, each one lasting about 8 to 10 months. Each time she'd bring the guy home for Sunday dinner. Mom would fawn over him, and Emma would talk about their future together. Then something would inevitably go wrong, and she'd spend weeks crying on Mom's shoulder about how men were terrible, and she'd never find anyone. The pattern was always the same. Emma would fall hard and fast, usually for guys who were charming but unreliable. There was Marcus, who worked at a gym and convinced her to lend him money for his business venture that never materialized. There was Tyler, who was supposedly a musician, but spent most of his time playing video games in Emma's bedroom. There was Derek, who cheated on her with her best friend from high school. Through it all, Mom and Dad were endlessly supportive. "She just has such a big heart," Mom would say. "She loves so deeply. Someday she'll find someone who deserves her." Meanwhile, whenever I mentioned dating someone, the response was lukewarm at best. "That's nice, honey. Is she career-focused like you?" Translation: please don't get serious and move even further away from the family. The truth was, I'd been in a couple of serious relationships, but they'd never worked out. My last girlfriend, Jessica, broke up with me because she said I was emotionally unavailable and too focused on work. She wasn't wrong. I'd been working 60-hour weeks trying to prove myself for a promotion, and I didn't have much left over for relationship maintenance. When she left, I threw myself even deeper into my career. Here's where the $2,500 monthly payment started. 3 years ago, Dad had a heart attack. Nothing too serious, but it was a wake-up call. I was in a client meeting when Mom called, sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. I excused myself and ran to my car, listening to her explain through tears that Dad had collapsed at work and was in the emergency room. I drove straight to the hospital, my hands shaking as I gripped the steering wheel. The 2-hour drive felt like an eternity. When I got there, I found Mom pacing in the waiting room while Emma sat in a corner chair scrolling through her phone. Dad was stable. The doctor said it had been a minor heart attack, likely caused by years of stress and poor diet. He'd need to make lifestyle changes, take medication, and monitor his health closely. During his recovery, Mom called me crying about their finances. Dad's job at the manufacturing plant provided decent insurance, but it wasn't great. They'd always lived paycheck to paycheck, and Dad's medical bills were piling up. Even with insurance, there were copays, deductibles, and medication costs they hadn't budgeted for. Dad's doctor had prescribed 4 different medications, and the monthly cost was over $400, even with insurance coverage. Then there was the time off work. Dad had to take 8 weeks off for recovery, and while his job was protected, his income was reduced to short-term disability payments that barely covered half his normal salary. They were talking about selling the house. "I don't know what we're going to do," Mom sobbed during one of our phone calls. "The mortgage is $1,800 a month, and with the utilities, insurance, and everything else, we need at least $2,200 just for basic expenses. Your father's disability payment is only $1,100. I couldn't stand the thought of my parents losing their home. This was the house I'd grown up in, where all our family memories were made. Despite all the favoritism and hurt feelings, I still loved my parents. They weren't bad people. They just had blind spots when it came to Emma. "How much do you need?" I asked. "Oh, honey, I couldn't ask you to." "Mom, how much?" She was quiet for a moment. "If we could just get some help with the mortgage for a few months, maybe $2,000 or so, just until your father gets back to work." Without hesitation, I offered to help. I started sending them $2,500 every month, enough to cover their mortgage, utilities, and give them some breathing room for emergencies. I never asked for anything in return, never made them feel bad about needing help. I just quietly transferred the money every first of the month, usually with a note like, "Hope this helps. Love you guys." The relief in Mom's voice was immediate. "You're such a good son," she said, crying again, but this time with gratitude instead of despair. "We don't know what we'd do without you." Dad called me that evening, his voice thick with emotion. "Son, I don't know how to thank you. This means everything to us." "You don't need to thank me, Dad. That's what family is for. We're so proud of you," he continued. "You've really made something of yourself. We're lucky to have such a successful, generous son. For the first time in years, I felt like I belonged in the family, like my success meant something to them beyond just being a contrast to Emma's struggles. I was contributing, helping, being the kind of son they could be proud of." Dad recovered well and went back to work after 3 months, but I kept sending the money. Their financial situation hadn't really improved. They still had the same expenses and the same income. Plus, now they had ongoing medical costs. Dad needed quarterly cardiology visits, annual stress tests, and daily medications. The $2,500 had become essential to their monthly budget. For 3 years, I felt good about helping them. Sure, it meant I couldn't upgrade my apartment or buy the sports car I wanted, but family comes first, right? I figured I was investing in our relationship, showing them how much I cared. Every month when I sent the money, I felt like I was buying my place in the family, proving that I was a good son worth loving. I should have known something was up when the family group chat went quiet in February. Usually it was constant chatter about everyone's plans, work drama, random memes. Emma would send screenshots of funny customer interactions from the boutique. Mom would share pictures of whatever new recipe she was trying. And Dad would occasionally drop in with dad jokes that made us all groan. But suddenly, it was radio silence. When I'd try to start conversations, I'd get short responses or be left on read entirely. I'd send a picture of something interesting from work, maybe a cool new server setup or a photo from a team lunch, and get nothing. I'd ask about weekend plans and get one-word answers. "Busy," Emma would text back. "Quiet weekend," Mom would respond. I thought maybe everyone was just busy. Work had been particularly intense for me in February. We were launching a major product update that had consumed my life for months. Maybe I'd been too focused on my own stuff and missed some family drama. Mom had mentioned during one of our weekly calls that Emma was seeing someone new named Jake, and I figured they were all caught up in that excitement. Emma's relationships were always a family affair. Mom would get immediately attached to whatever guy she was dating, inviting him to Sunday dinners within the first week of hearing about him. Dad would spend the first few meetings sizing up the new boyfriend, asking pointed questions about his job, his intentions, his 5-year plan. I'd usually hear about all of this secondhand during my weekly phone calls with Mom. "Jake seems really nice," Mom had gushed during one conversation. "He's got a good job, drives a nice car, and he treats Emma so well. They went to that fancy steakhouse downtown last weekend. He spared no expense." I'd made appropriate, supportive noises, happy that Emma had found someone who seemed to be treating her right. After the string of losers she'd dated, maybe Jake would be different. Maybe this was why the family chat had gone quiet. They were all caught up in Emma's new relationship. Then March rolled around and I noticed the posts on social media. At first it was subtle. Emma started posting more pictures of herself looking particularly happy and glowing. Not unusual for someone in a new relationship. Then I started seeing group photos that didn't include me, which also wasn't entirely unusual since I lived 2 hours away and didn't make it to every family gathering. But there was something different about these photos. Everyone looked secretive, like they were sharing some inside joke or planning something special. In one picture, Mom, Dad, Emma, and Jake were all sitting around the kitchen table with papers spread out in front of them. The caption just said, "Planning mode activated," with a bunch of excited emojis. It started with Emma posting a photo of herself trying on bathing suits with the caption, "Getting ready for paradise." I figured she was planning some girls' trip or a romantic getaway with Jake. Good for her. She deserved some fun after the disaster with Derek. A few days later, Mom posted a picture of herself at the mall carrying shopping bags from various stores. Victoria's Secret, Bath & Body Works, a swimwear boutique. Vacation shopping is the best kind of shopping, the caption read. I commented with a heart emoji, thinking she and Dad were finally taking a trip together. They deserved it. Dad had been working overtime at the plant since his recovery, trying to rebuild their emergency fund, and Mom had been stressed about finances despite my monthly help. But then I started noticing other things. Emma posted a photo of her and Jake at a travel agency, both of them grinning and holding brochures. Mom shared a screenshot of a weather app showing sunny skies and 82-degree temperatures somewhere. Dad, who rarely posted anything on social media, shared an article about the best hidden gems in Hawaii from some travel blog. Hawaii? That got my attention. The pieces started falling into place, but I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe they were all just excited about Emma and Jake's trip. Maybe Mom was living vicariously through her daughter's romantic getaway. That would be typical. Mom always got more excited about Emma's life than her own. But then I saw Dad's post, a screenshot of a flight booking confirmation to Hawaii. 7 passengers, 7. I stared at that screenshot for a full 10 minutes, counting and recounting. The family group chat had 5 members: Mom, Dad, Emma, Jake, and me. If there were 7 passengers on this flight, who else was going? I scrolled through Emma's recent posts looking for clues. There was a photo from 2 weeks ago of her having dinner with Jake and 2 other people I didn't immediately recognize. The caption said, "Squad goals," with a bunch of tropical emojis. Looking closer, I realized one of the people was Marcus, Emma's ex-boyfriend from a year ago, who somehow had stayed friends with the family. The other was Sarah, Emma's best friend from high school, who my parents had always treated like a second daughter. That's when it hit me. The family group chat had 5 members: Mom, Dad, Emma, her boyfriend Jake, and me. If there were 7 passengers, that meant they'd invited Marcus and Sarah. They'd even invited Emma's ex-boyfriend, but they hadn't invited me. I refreshed Dad's post, hoping I'd misread something. Nope. 7 passengers departing on April 15th for a week in Maui. I checked my calendar. I had no vacation planned for that week. I hadn't even been told there was vacation to plan for. I spent the next hour obsessively going through everyone's social media, looking for any mention of me or any indication that I was supposed to be part of this trip. Nothing. Emma's excitement about family time in paradise. Mom's posts about making memories with the people who matter most. Dad's rare burst of social media activity. Sharing articles about snorkeling, luau's, and scenic drives. I felt sick to my stomach. This wasn't just a vacation I hadn't been invited to. This was a family vacation I'd been deliberately excluded from. They'd been planning this for weeks, maybe months, and not one of them had thought to mention it to me, not even in passing. The worst part was the social media posts. They weren't just planning a trip. They were documenting their excitement for the whole world to see, including me. They wanted me to know they were going without me. Or they were so excited about their plans that they'd forgotten I existed entirely. I wasn't sure which option hurt more. I called Mom that evening, trying to keep my voice casual despite the knot in my stomach. "Hey Mom, saw Dad's post about Hawaii. That sounds amazing. When are you guys going?" There was a pause. A long pause. I could hear the TV in the background. Some cooking show Mom liked to watch in the evenings. Oh, that. "Well, it's next month. Just a little family getaway." Family getaway. I couldn't keep the confusion out of my voice. Was I supposed to book my own flight? I didn't see any details in the group chat. Another pause, longer this time. I heard her take a deep breath. "Sweetie, this trip is really more for Emma. She's been going through a lot with work and relationships, and we thought she could use some family support. You're always so busy with your job anyway, and we know how hard it is for you to take time off." The words hit me like a physical blow. Emma's been going through a lot. Emma, who worked part-time at a boutique and lived rent-free at home, had been going through more than me, who was working 60-hour weeks and sending them $2,500 a month. "I can take time off, Mom. I've got plenty of vacation days saved up. I've been working so much that I haven't used any of my vacation time in over a year." "I know, honey, but we've already made all the arrangements. The house we rented only has so many bedrooms," and she trailed off. "How many bedrooms does it have?" "Well, it's a 4-bedroom place. There's the master for me and Dad, one for Emma and Jake, one for Marcus, and one for Sarah and her boyfriend Chris. It's perfect for the group we planned." Sarah's boyfriend Chris. They had room for Sarah's boyfriend Chris, a guy I'd met exactly twice at family barbecues, but not for me. "Right," I said, my throat tight. "Well, you guys have fun." "Oh, sweetie, don't be like that. You know how these things are. It's just easier when the group is compatible." Compatible. That word stuck in my throat like a bone. Compatible how? Well, everyone's around the same age. They all enjoy the same activities, beach stuff, nightlife, that sort of thing. You're always so focused on work, and we thought you might be more comfortable with a quieter vacation. Maybe somewhere you could still get some work done if needed. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They decided I wouldn't enjoy a family vacation to Hawaii because I might want to check my email occasionally. Mom, I'm 34 years old. I think I can handle a beach vacation without turning it into a business trip. I know. It's just this particular group works well together, and we've already made all the arrangements. Maybe next time we can plan something that includes everyone. But I knew there wouldn't be a next time. Not like this, right? Well, have fun. I hope the weather's nice. I hung up before she could say anything else, my hands shaking with rage and hurt. The next few weeks were torture. I watched as my family posted countdown posts, packing photos, and airport selfies. Emma shared her excitement about trying surfing for the first time. Mom posted pictures of the travel guidebooks she'd bought, highlighting restaurants and attractions. Dad shared an article about the best snorkeling spots in Maui, complete with underwater photography tips. Through it all, I kept sending that monthly $2,500 payment. Like clockwork, on the 1st of April, I transferred the money to their account. Money that was probably helping fund their Hawaiian vacation. The vacation I wasn't invited on. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was financially supporting a family vacation I'd been excluded from. Every dollar I sent was going toward their paradise getaway while I sat at home working overtime and pretending I wasn't devastated by their rejection. They left on a Tuesday. I knew because Emma posted a group photo at the airport. All 7 of them grinning and holding up boarding passes. Mom, Dad, Emma, Jake, Marcus, Sarah, and even Sarah's boyfriend Chris, who I'd met exactly twice at family barbecues, and who apparently knew more about their vacation plans than I did. The photo was captioned, "Paradise, here we come. #FamilyTime, #blessed." The #FamilyTime felt like a knife to the gut. I was their family too, but apparently not the kind that mattered when it came to making memories. They had room for Sarah's boyfriend, but not for me. That week was one of the longest of my life. Every day brought new posts from their paradise getaway, beach photos with everyone laughing and playing in the crystal clear water, sunset dinners at fancy restaurants where they were all dressed up and looking like the perfect vacation group. Group activities, snorkeling, luau dancing, ziplining through the rainforest. Emma posted a video of herself learning to surf, wobbling on the board while everyone cheered her on from the beach. Mom shared photos of tropical drinks with little umbrellas, her face glowing with relaxation and joy. Dad, who normally avoided social media, was posting multiple times a day. Scenic drives, hiking trails, waterfalls. They were having the time of their lives, and I was sitting in my apartment, working late and trying not to think about how badly this hurt. I threw myself into work, staying at the office until 9 or 10 each night, picking up extra projects, volunteering for weekend tasks, anything to keep my mind off the fact that my family was bonding and making memories without me. The worst part wasn't even being excluded. It was realizing that they hadn't even considered including me. This wasn't an oversight or a miscommunication. They'd made a conscious decision that I didn't belong on their family vacation. They'd looked at their guest list and thought, you know who would ruin this fun group dynamic? My brother, who's been financially supporting us for 3 years, but I was still good enough to send them money every month. My CO workers noticed my mood. Sarah from marketing asked if I was okay during a team meeting, pointing out that I looked exhausted. My boss, Michael, pulled me aside and suggested I take some time off. You've been pushing yourself pretty hard lately, he said. When's the last time you took a vacation? I almost laughed. When was the last time I took a vacation? Well, there was supposed to be a family vacation to Hawaii, but apparently I wasn't family enough to be included. When they got back, Mom called me like nothing had happened. I let it ring twice before answering, steeling myself for what I knew would be a painful conversation. How was Hawaii? I asked because I'm apparently a glutton for punishment. Oh, it was wonderful. Her voice was bright and excited, like she was talking to a friend instead of the son she deliberately excluded from the trip. We had such a great time. Emma really needed it. She's been so stressed lately with work and everything. Stressed about what? Her part-time job at a boutique? I saw the photos. Looked like an amazing trip. You should have seen the sunset from our lanai the first night. Absolutely breathtaking. And the snorkeling. Even your father tried it. Can you believe that? Emma took some beautiful pictures underwater. There were these bright yellow fish everywhere, She went on for 20 minutes about all the fun they'd had, seemingly oblivious to how much it hurt to hear about the family vacation I'd been excluded from. She described the fancy dinners, the beach activities, the hiking adventures. She told me about how Jake had proposed to Emma on the beach at sunset and how romantic it had been with everyone there to celebrate. Jake had proposed, Emma was engaged, and I'd found out through a post-vacation phone call, not because anyone had thought to include me in the moment or even tell me it was planned. When she finally paused for breath, I asked the question that had been eating at me for weeks. Mom, why wasn't I invited? Silence. Complete awkward silence. I could hear the TV in the background, some daytime talk show she liked to watch while doing housework. What do you mean, honey? The Hawaii trip? Why wasn't I invited? You said it was a family vacation, but I'm family too, aren't I? More silence, then a deep sigh. Oh, sweetie, you know how these things are. It was really Emma's trip, and she invited who she wanted to invite. We didn't want to impose on her guest list. Emma's trip. A family vacation had become Emma's trip, and she had veto power over which family members could attend. Impose? I'm her brother. I know, but you two have never been that close, and she really wanted this to be a relaxing time with people she's comfortable with. You know how you can be sometimes. Always checking your phone for work stuff, talking about your projects. She wanted it to be fun and carefree. People she's comfortable with. That stung more than I expected. My own sister wasn't comfortable enough with me to want me on a family vacation. So Emma decided who gets to go on the family vacation. Well, not exactly. But look, honey, I don't want to get into this. The trip is over and it was lovely. Maybe next time we can all go together. But I knew there wouldn't be a next time. Not like this. This had shown me exactly where I stood in the family hierarchy. I was the ATM, not a member. I let it drop, but the hurt festered. For the next 2 weeks, I went through the motions of our normal family relationship. Weekly phone calls with Mom where she'd update me on Emma's wedding planning and Dad's latest projects at work. The occasional text in the group chat about mundane things like weather or TV shows. The monthly money transfer that I'd been making for 3 years. But everything felt different now. Hollow. Every conversation felt fake. Like we were all pretending this massive betrayal hadn't happened. Like they hadn't shown me exactly how much I mattered to them when it came time to choose who belonged on a family vacation. Then Dad called me on a Saturday afternoon, which was unusual. He typically avoided phone calls, preferring to let Mom handle the family communications. Saturday afternoons were his time for yard work or watching sports, and he guarded that time carefully. Son, I wanted to talk to you about something. His voice sounded tired, and I immediately worried something was wrong with his health. The heart attack was still relatively recent, and I'd been watching for signs that he might be overdoing it. Sure, Dad. What's up? Is everything okay? Your mother told me about your conversation after we got back from Hawaii. About you being upset that you weren't invited. My stomach dropped. Of course, she told him, and of course, they discussed my reaction like it was some kind of problem they needed to solve. Oh yeah, look, I want you to understand something. He paused, and I could hear him taking a deep breath. They didn't want you there. The words hit me like a physical blow. I actually felt winded, like someone had punched me in the chest. What? Emma specifically asked that you not be invited. She said you just bring down the mood, always working on your laptop or talking about your job. She wanted this to be fun and relaxed, and she didn't think you'd fit in with the group dynamic she was going for. I couldn't speak. My own sister had specifically requested that I be excluded from a family vacation. It wasn't an oversight or a space issue or a miscommunication. Emma had looked at the invitation list and said, "Don't invite my brother. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings," Dad continued, his voice matter-of-fact. But I wanted you to hear it straight. Emma's been going through a tough time with work and relationships, and we wanted to support her. Sometimes that means making difficult choices about who to include in family activities. Difficult choices, I repeated numbly. She's our daughter, and she needed this vacation. You're doing fine on your own. You've got your career, your money, your success. Emma needs more support right now, more attention. This trip was about helping her heal and move forward. That's when something snapped inside me. 3 years of sending them money every month. 3 years of being the responsible son, the financial backup plan, the one they could count on when things got tough. And this was how they saw me, as someone who didn't deserve to be included in family activities because I was doing fine on my own. I send you $2,500 a month, I said quietly. What? I send you and Mom $2,500 every single month, Dad, for 3 years. That's $90,000 I've given you. Son, we appreciate that, but $90,000 of my money, and this is how you treat me? My voice was rising now, anger and hurt pouring out in equal measure. My sister specifically requests that I be excluded from a family vacation, and you think that's reasonable? You think I deserve that now? Hold on. No, Dad, you hold on. For 3 years I've been helping keep you afloat financially. I've been the good son, the responsible one, the one who takes care of the family. And when it comes time for a family vacation, I'm not even worth considering. It's not about worth, it's about what Emma needed. It's about exactly that, worth. You've made it clear where I stand in this family. I'm good enough to pay your bills, but not good enough to join your vacations. I'm good enough to be your financial safety net, but not good enough to be included in your family memories. Dad was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice had a defensive edge. You're being dramatic. It was just one trip.
Just one trip.
Dad, do you realize how this looks from my perspective? I've been financially supporting you for years, and you guys couldn't even be bothered to invite me on a vacation that my money probably helped pay for. Your money? Son, that money was a gift. You can't hold it over our heads now. Something cold settled in my chest. A gift? Is that what you think this has been? Well, yes. You offered to help, and we accepted gratefully. But you can't use that to buy your way into every family activity. Buy my way in. That's what he thought I was trying to do. I offered to help because I love you. Because I wanted to make sure you didn't lose your house after Dad's heart attack. Because I thought we were a family. We are a family. No, Dad. Families don't exclude each other from vacations while cashing their checks. That's not family. That's a business transaction. You're upset, I get it. But you can't punish the whole family because Emma made one decision about one vacation. I'm done. What? I'm done. Done with the monthly payments. Done with being treated like an ATM instead of a son. Done with a family that thinks I'm good enough to bankroll their lifestyle, but not good enough to include in their lives. Now wait just a minute. No, there's nothing to wait for. I've made my decision. I hung up and immediately opened my banking app. The automatic transfer for May was scheduled to go through in 3 days. I canceled it. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I blocked my parents' numbers. I blocked Emma. I blocked them on social media, unfriending them and removing them from my followers lists. I even left the family group chat with a simple message. Since I'm not wanted on family vacations, I figured you might not want me in family chats either. The silence that followed was deafening for about 6 hours. Then the messages started pouring in. They couldn't text or call my phone, but they found other ways. Facebook Messenger before I blocked them there too. Instagram DMs, LinkedIn messages, emails to both my personal and work accounts, even reaching out through my few mutual friends, asking them to pass along messages. Mom's first email was titled, "Please don't do this," and was 3 pages long. She apologized for the Hawaii situation, said they'd made a mistake, promised they'd include me in future trips, but then she spent 2 paragraphs explaining why Emma had been justified in not wanting me there, how I could be intense sometimes about work, how I didn't always read social situations well, how I might have changed the dynamic of their fun group. Even her apology was an insult. Dad's approach was more direct and angry. His emails had subject lines like, "We need to talk and this is ridiculous." He accused me of being petty, of using money to manipulate the family, of abandoning them when they needed me most. He said I was being a spoiled brat who couldn't handle not getting my way for once. The irony of calling me spoiled while asking for my money back wasn't lost on me. Emma's messages were the most interesting evolution. She started with anger. How dare I punish the whole family because of one vacation? How I was being a spoiled brat. How my money didn't buy me a spot on every family activity. She actually used the phrase, "You can't buy love," which was rich coming from someone who'd been living off my financial support for years. But as days passed and I didn't respond, her tone shifted to panic. "I didn't mean you could never come on trips," she wrote in one email. "I just thought that particular group worked well together. You're taking this way too seriously." Then, Mom and Dad are really stressed about money now. You're hurting them to get back at me, and that's not fair. And finally, I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry I didn't want you in Hawaii, but you can't just abandon the family over this. We need you. There it was. We need you. Not we love you, or we miss you, or we're sorry we hurt you. We need you because I was the source of their monthly financial stability. and without me they were in trouble.